This is All Figured Out. I'm Andrea Barr. I'm a career coach for parents, a mom of two, and I absolutely believe that you can continue to grow personally and professionally while protecting family time. This podcast is about figuring things out as we go, career moves, parenting curveballs, and just figuring out how to keep your priorities straight. You'll hear solo episodes with practical takeaways from myself as a career coach, and I'll have guests on for unfiltered, raw conversations about how people are just making everything work as professionals and as parents. Think of this as real talk to help you keep your priorities straight. If you're navigating work, life, and parenting, and you want a little creativity, a little community, and some confidence, you're in the right place. Welcome to the All Figured Out podcast. Emily Shimwell, thanks for coming on the All Figured Out podcast.
Thank you.
Yay! In person. We have the best meet cute. Okay. Do you want to tell it or should I?
You tell it.
Okay. So here I am. I'm going to set the scene. I feel like I want to look at the camera. I'm not normally like this. So funny. I want to just eye in and just. Okay. So here I am texting. No, let me back it up. I'm going to this event, Bloom Business Collective, a beautiful space for budding or entrepreneurs who want to create community, just giving them a little shout out first. So I'm going to their summer party. I'm walking down the street simultaneously, probably shouldn't be doing this, texting my girlfriend, Abby. Abby said, come to this brunch at this girl's house that I know. I said, sure, why not? Because I agree to things like that. And I'm laughing, but I had heard your name many a time. I had been sent some of your events, and I said, this sounds great. I would love to do that. Remind me again who this woman is? She explains. So I see this woman walking down the street wearing a beautiful dress, just like ethereal looking, just like it's almost like I pictured the wind was just like tossing your hair around and your like beautiful dress was just like flowing. And I was like, she's beautiful, but she looks very lost. So I approach you and I kind of gave you that knowing look like, you okay, sweetie? I said, are you going to the Bloom? I think we said it at the same time. And you said, yes, I'm going there. Great. We start walking up towards the door. I said, I know where it is. And then you start talking. I had never even heard you talk on social media or anything. And you said, I came down from Squamish. And I said, huh. And I said, what is your business? I think that's exactly what is your business? It was such a weird way of asking it. And you're like, oh, I have Dine Wilder. And I was like, I'm sorry. What? 30 seconds ago had been reading the message, hadn't even replied to Abby, my daughter's Abby. And lo and behold, I met the woman whose event I was going to be going to the following Sunday at her house. And I just happened to meet you on a street.
And now here we are.
2
weeks later.
2 weeks after that. I mean, we are going to be talking today about starting before you're ready, getting shit done. And this is like the epitome of that. I was drawn to you the second I met you. You have such a freaking cool business. You've done amazing things. Since having children is when this whole thing is blown up, which is even more fun and badass. So thank you. Thank you for your openness. Thanks for a good story.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for coming to the brunch on Sunday.
And you hosted the beautiful brunch, which ended up being, you said that it was supposed to be this like very intimate, no fuss.
Well, it was supposed to be extremely casual in my garden, under the willow tree, to bring it all full circle from where the first brunch was a year ago. And then we've been blanketed with smoke in Squamish, everywhere actually, but especially in Squamish. And so very quickly we had to pivot 3 days before. And a local cafe just changed ownership and said, come on in. Again, serendipity. Dine Wilder is on our vision board. So yes, come in 3 days' time. So that's what we did.
Oh,
it's perfect.
So beautiful. And it was you host such a beautiful event. It's so intentional without being ostentatious or like frilly for the sake of it. It was just very intentional. I think that's the word that I would use. You walk in, you're handed a drink, you're greeted by somebody. It was you and one of your staff. So you were not just walking in, especially if you're there solo. I was with Abby. And it was just this beautiful community and space, and it was cozy, and there was linen napkins and live burning candles that were like dripping wax onto the table, where there was a moment where I was like, oh God, is that problematic? Is it gonna hurt? And I'm like, just let go.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
How many events since your 1-year anniversary have you hosted?
We have probably done official events, probably like 15, but it's more the guests that I look at. I think we've had 542 guests at the dinner table. I was trying to work out how many candles that we'd lit. And I think, or place settings, cutlery, there's like 1,690 sets of cutlery we've done. And a heck of a lot of tapered candles and dripping wax on tablecloths. And that is kind of my whole ethos in life, is just get it done, make all the mistakes up front and the learnings as fast as you possibly can. And now it feels like we're in year 3, when actually we've only just celebrated our 1 year on Sunday. But it feels like we've gained so much knowledge really, really quickly.
It is really unbelievable, because I'm not just saying it because you've said it. Like, I couldn't believe, I didn't really know what I was attending. I'm going to be honest. And then there's a one outside of the brunch. And then I walk in and you're like, we're celebrating one. And I was like, oh, right. I forgot that detail because I don't really know you very well.
Yeah.
But I'd heard of your business, and I could have sworn I've been hearing about Dine Wilder for years. There's something about it that feels like, if you're spiritual, that it's like, it's been there. It's been within you forever.
I also felt terrible putting that balloon up, because I realised I've never bought my children a balloon for their birthday. And to me, it was like, of course we have to get a balloon.
The gold foil balloon. Are you against balloons?
No.
Oh.
No, I just haven't ever thought to do it. But for the business, let's celebrate. I will also say I've been over-hosting lately, so I have this very husky voice going on, as you can probably hear.
Your adorable Yorkshire accent with a husky. I love it. The Canadians are here for it. The Americans too.
I get so self-conscious about my accent, and it's funny that you said I didn't know how you sounded. So many people say you need to show up more on camera and share the accent. But at the very beginning, we were asking people for feedback on the events, and somebody had wrote, and it stuck with me, and it's not what I believe in, and I take everything with a pinch of salt, and if you were telling me, I would tell you to ignore it, but it definitely planted the seed. Someone wrote, we were blindsided by her accent, and we wish we'd have known kind of what we were coming to listen to accent-wise.
What?
I know.
That is the most if you were watching and that was you, like, check yourself.
It stuck with me though, I think.
Of course.
And it's planted this little insecurity about sharing my accent. But it seems to be that all Canadians love a British accent.
Yes, they love a non-Canadian or American accent. Oh my. I had somebody on the podcast, Mark Machin. He's from outside London, I believe. And he said that's the only reason why he thinks he's done well in business in Canada. It's because people think he's smarter than he actually is. He is a brilliant human. He's an engineer. He was former military for the British Army. So, you know, he knows his shit. But
he's also Southern, so he probably speaks like the Queen's English.
He does
Northern, so it's a little bit different.
He does speak Queen's English, so that extra, perhaps that... Oh my goodness. I wanna ask you, you have the best meet cute. You were just telling me that your husband you met when you were 17. Every parent's absolute nightmare. He said he's moving to Australia and you said, I'll come too.
And we don't still know if it was a formal invite, really. I just thought, yeah, I'll come.
So then you do go to Australia. Again, every
go.
parent who's listening is worst fucking nightmare that you left and never returned.
Never returned. We've only visited a handful of times. Yeah, and now I don't actually feel this real connection to home anymore. Like even saying home feels a bit strange to me.
Yeah.
We move so many times in quick succession, as is like everything that we do, that I do. I feel really connected to Christchurch, to Perth, to Sydney, Melbourne. I've kind of planted roots in all of these places. So sometimes I feel like a bit of an imposter talking about the UK, or people will mention the way of life there in business, and I've not experienced that. I don't know. So yeah, I do need to go though, because nobody has met my smallest babe, Wilf, who is going to turn 3 soon. So I do need to go at some point, but
they can also visit.
Yeah.
So you've moved and created roots in all these different places. And what is the through line with hospitality? I know hospitality is within you. It is part of your DNA, it seems like. Where did that come from?
It does feel like it's running through my veins. Anything to do with serving or making people feel a certain way. Even as I was driving here, I was thinking, like, when does that go back to? And there's no clear memory, because it just feels like it is. When I was 6, I definitely know that my mum would come in with the shopping, and I would rush over to the bags before she even emptied them and be making a chart in my own little way of every single thing that she'd bought. And then I would go and make menus, and I would spend all of my pocket money, like, £1 a week or whatever, on receipt books, on stationery, anything to do with running a cafe. And then if I heard anyone go to the kitchen, I would run in and put my pinny on my apron on, and I would insist on making the cup of tea or whatever it was, and then charging my mum again for the groceries.
I love it.
But I just loved serving. And I always remember saying that I would always have a cafe or be a wedding planner. And the epiphany I've just had walking in is actually Dine Wilder blends the two things. You're planning these beautiful events, but you're also kind of just running a pop-up restaurant. Well, you are.
Mobile, yeah.
So it's both things, but I just like how you can make someone feel a certain way and change their whole day without it costing anything as well.
Mm.
And so I remember I would get the bus to college, and then actually, I would wave my mum off, pretend I was going to college, and then I would go and work at the local pub, get changed into All Blacks, and I would just work like 40, 50 hours a week there, and became obsessed with it, and had the most amazing mentor in the owner of that pub, who showed me what unreasonable hospitality looks like. And I saw how everyone that walked in the door in that pub, the food was delicious, but everyone came because of how Trudy made them feel. And I have reached out to her in the last year to say, I don't think you understand how much impact you had on me, and how she would only settle for a certain standard of service. But it wasn't about fine dining or the cutlery being perfectly lined up. It was how you would make the person feel. And to your point of when people walk in the door and you're welcomed with a cuddle and a glass of anything, something in your hand, and taken your coat. That's what it was like at the Bay Horse where I first worked. And then it's just kind of weaved its way all the way through. Every time I would try and get a proper job, whatever that is, I've helped manage shopping malls and all different things. Sold jet boats at Sydney Harbour, like the most random things. I would always have a hospitality job on an evening as well. Not for the money, just because I was obsessed with serving tables.
What was it that Trudy taught you to do? Like, what are some examples of just how do you even instill that? I know there's some people that might be listening. They're like, but what if I'm not like that? What if that's not me? What if I'm more introverted? How do you bring someone in and make them feel welcome and give them unreasonable hospitality?
She would definitely not necessarily teach, and perhaps lots of people worked for her that didn't pick up on it, but I was just like a sponge around her. And she would always remember something about the customer that had walked in, the regular, like that the dog was at the vet's the week before, that their grandma's sick, that their daughter's doing her exams or whatever, and then ask them a question the week after, and you would always have to remember their drink. Everyone orders the same drink every time they walk in. I actually purposely let the servers pick my food and my drink choice everywhere I go. I just love to be surprised. But I know most people tend to order the same thing. So I think it's important that you remember that.
Oh.
With Dine, because so many people are strangers that come or they come on their own, the checkout process when you're purchasing a ticket is really intentional. And although I'm very extroverted, I really want to make it so that the most introverted person can come and feel safe. And so there's moments where they can share that with me. And so they're on my radar straight away. Like, I'll tell the servers, like, this person's coming. She's never been to anything like this. She's so introverted. This is such a big deal. Don't say anything, but make sure she gets extra care. Introduce her to someone else. I think the worst thing is if you walk in somewhere and you don't have the confidence to talk to the room, you need to be guided by the host to be introduced to someone.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Oh, I could talk about this topic forever.
So could I.
My parents are incredible hosts.
Are they?
I'm not kidding, I didn't understand it or recognize it until very recently because I thought that unreasonable hospitality was the norm. Like I never
Me
really,
too.
there was times where I've gone places and I've felt uncomfortable or didn't feel great, but I would always put that all back on myself and say, oh, I was in a funky mood. But now I kind of do think back to certain situations where the host is cleaning up while you're still there. They've gotten up and it's not one of those situations where it was the right time.
Yeah.
It almost felt like it was rushing
Yeah.
the evening and the experience. And I think back and my parents were just always an open door to have the gathering, to host the gathering. There was no measuring of tablecloths. It was like we would pick what was on the table, some crazy runners that my mom's quilted that are beautiful, but like not like, you
Doesn't
know,
matter,
it
does
doesn't,
it?
no, but everything was so intentional. And my mom and stepdad have always said, be very careful mixing friends. So I'm very curious to actually hear your take on that. And I won't say any more, but what is your take on like mixing people and how you do that?
I think it's amazing and it can invite people to step out their comfort zones. I will say it needs to be a balance of almost it's better if the whole room doesn't know one another. It's quite excluding if there's a group of people who have asked to sit next to each other and then you've got people dotted in there that don't know anyone. And I've watched that happen a couple of times. Again, the learnings that come from just whipping these dinners out in such quick succession. Yeah. At the beginning, we would set 3 hours aside the next morning after every single dinner. The photographer, my right-hand woman, Kaylee, the servers, the chef, anyone involved, we would sit down at a local coffee shop and just pick apart the night. Every single detail, from the way we poured the water to the way we packed the car when we loaded out, everything.
No way.
Oh, yeah, everything. I'm very like wing it, but then I also want to assess what we've just done. Otherwise, there's no point in doing them in such quick succession. You need the learnings. And that was one of them that came up at the beginning. A lot of people were asking to sit next to someone that they knew. You have to just be really careful that there's a really fair balance of strangers as well.
Yes. And I think maybe in that situation, there has to be an expectation set ahead of time. People don't, you and I, we're two peas in a pod. We both love to be surprised. I love a surprise. I love an outlandish question. I love being interviewed and just like getting thrown in the deep end. Most people aren't like that. Most people don't want to show up to an event and be like, I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea if I can sit with my friend. If the person's going with a friend, they expect to sit with their friend and then they're not, someone's gonna be pissed off. Right? It's just the expectation versus the reality. And there's really something there about, it sounds like you've really done a great job of setting that expectation to say you can come if you are solo and I'm going to ask you a question about that so that you know I'm looking out for you and that you know other people might be solo too because it's invited in that space. But it's so true. It's like having if you're hosting a dinner party with 6 couples and then you invite that 7th couple in who don't know anybody, it's like so well intended, but you have to be really explicit with that 7th couple to say, I know you're not going to know anybody, but I really think you're going to hit it off. And then
I
the other people need to know too.
Yeah. And I think also as the host, you then need to take responsibility
Yes.
for including them and giving a little bit of prior preparation of what are the golden threads between them.
Yeah.
And how can you trigger the conversation while you're running back and forth to the kitchen to host?
It's so true. Versus it becoming the 6 couples talking about all their stories from when they went to Cabo together. And then, and it happens. We've all done it.
Yeah, of course.
And you just get into this rabbit hole and everyone's looking around being like, crap, how did we end up here? Or the family doesn't have kids and all of a sudden you're talking about kids. But I love that ownership. I feel like you have a real sense of personal responsibility. It seems like I'm going to launch this Dine business really fast, but I'm going to take responsibility for elevating it the next time and learning from it, which I think is
definitely
beautiful.
And I think if you throw your hands up, and I'm not claiming to know anything. All I'm claiming is that I love meeting strangers, connecting people, and I'm trying to find a way to do that in a format that I'm told by everyone isn't possible to make it a profitable business. And I think it might be. There's just a lot of learnings with it to try and get to that point, because I think hosting historically is something a woman would do. She would open up her home on a Saturday night and it's for fun. But I think if you're serving so many people and the connections that we've seen happen at the dinner tables, the businesses that have been started, the mum group, like all the different things, it is a service that you're providing and it can be profitable.
Yes. And it should be.
Yeah.
It's just a different way. Why do we only have the casual dinner party at the home with the mason jar that your children have picked the flowers, you were telling me, adorable, or a Michelin star restaurant? It really feels like there's this dichotomy right now where you have to choose to go out and minimum $200, boom, you and your partner have spent, or you're hacking together takeout with friends. Like, why does it feel like there's no in between right now?
Yeah.
And I think you're doing that. Like, you're creating experiences. And what I think you're doing with that too is I think you're inspiring those of us who want to host, and we're going to get into this too, who feel like it's super overwhelming. This is a podcast for parents, and all these parents are listening being like, I want to host with unreasonable hospitality. And sometimes they might have these mental blockers of being like, I'm not making enough money. I can't serve the real steak. What if I serve the flank steak or the pork? And that's a cheap way of hosting. Does that reflect poorly? You know, these stories we make up. My house isn't perfect. We haven't done that thing we've wanted to do. And we put these blockers. But what I think you're doing is you're taking a coffee shop that apparently had 1.5 million plants all over it. And you turned it into this beautiful experience with intentionality, with linen napkins that I'm sure weren't crazy expensive, and beautiful pastries that, again, weren't Michelin pastries. They were delicious because it was in a beautiful environment.
And that's the beauty of Dine as well. It's not just in a restaurant. It's in places that you'd never think to eat. I can't walk in somewhere, be it the bookstore, the bank, the hairdressers, and imagine a long table. All I want to do is put a long table and some tapered candles everywhere that you would never think to eat and make it look beautiful.
Yes. How did you know to just, or how did you get that, I don't even know, gumption to be like, I'm just going to try this. I'm going to start before I feel quote unquote ready. Because again, that is the most real thing with ambitious parents who are listening, who are like, I've got this idea, but I'm not ready. How the hell did you do it?
I think you realize that you're never ready. There's never going to be a moment where you think you're ready. And if you do ever reach that moment, which I've never found, someone else has probably already started it. And then you've probably watched the dream happen for somebody else. I've heard that so many times. We were going to start this.
Yeah.
And I think, do you know what? You'd have been so much better than I was at the beginning, because you had it all planned out. You had the perfect business plan, all the strategy. I had none of it. But now we're a year in, I've got it. And you can sit and strategize as much as you want. But until you watch, in my case, humans interact, or a dinner be plated in the storage room of a gift shop, or you can't actually plan for that, really.
No.
Last year, from the 1st of January to my birthday on the 1st of June, I decided to set myself a deadline that I didn't share with anyone. It was like this little secret with myself that on my birthday, I needed to have some idea of something that I was going to create, but I didn't know what. And we already had Grace Wilder charcuterie, but that was running with the kids at home. And I knew I was capable of doing that. But I felt like I was going to get so much more capacity when Wilf went to daycare. So I didn't change what I was doing, but I was just like secretly assessing how I behaved and what I was running towards and what I was avoiding. And I'm a serial list maker.
Oh,
I love a list. We have all the systems. We have ClickUp and all the Google Drives, and all I want is a handwritten list in my bag, falling apart, and that's what I'm going to work from. And it drives everyone crazy.
Yeah. You're like, I'm sorry, I can't talk about this. I don't have my list.
I just love a list.
In my other list,
And I would highlight at the end of the day on my to-do list, again, what I'd ran at and what I had procrastinated on, and I was having to carry over to the next day. And everything crossed out that I hadn't achieved was something behind the scenes that didn't fill my cup, or it was like the bookkeeping, or, you know?
Yeah.
Anything that was human facing, even if it was take the kids to the post office, go to the grocery store. Everyone says to me, why do you take the kids to the grocery store? You can order groceries. And I think, but then you get to miss meeting all the strangers in the grocery store and having the kids interact with them. They need to learn that skill. We can't all be on screens all the time.
No.
Everything was human facing that I was achieving. And so then I started to ponder on, or I had the epiphany, I think, by the time it got to my birthday of, okay, so all I need to do is get paid to meet strangers. And it was a bit of a joke that that's what I was going to do. I was going to create something where I just connect with strangers. And as I'm burning garlic bread while I'm trying to host halfway through June, I thought, I don't even like doing the cooking anymore. I've lost the love of the cooking. Since I've had the kids, it's become a chore, which I'm sure so many mums, parents can understand. I used to love hosting for the cooking, and now it's like the added chore. And I think that's a huge point to make, is it doesn't even need to be a home cooked meal. Like, you can host and you can order takeout, but just swap it out of the packaging and put it on a beautiful plate. No one even cares.
And you don't have to hide it.
Well, no, but it just looks beautiful.
Oh,
on
no,
a piece of wood.
exactly. Yes. Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't keep it in the plastic.
Not.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, what if I brought in all of the people who are exceptional at their craft? I don't need to be good at everything. I'm just the bringing of the people together. So you bring the vendors who are exceptional, which elevates every single part of it rather than me being okay at it all.
Yep.
Because I think my skill is the human connection.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be there to greet you with open arms when you walk in. I can't do that if I'm also catering and someone's taking the photos and all the things.
Yes.
And as I was going through this secret inquiry of my skills, I knocked on about 5 doors in a row over a couple of weeks, delivering Grace Wilder platters, charcuterie. And it was like, I would knock on the door, see the beautiful woman receiving the platter, and she would tell me that she felt disconnected. And I kept hearing this word of disconnect. And so one day I walked in after deliveries with the kids in the car, and I threw the list and I said, we're just going to solve this. Let's just solve it. Let's take it into our own hands. I feel so connected. They don't. Let's just throw a brunch next week in the garden. And so I just on the spot thought, okay, let's call it Dine Wilder. We already have Grace Wilder, and we just eat in places that you'd never eat, because I'm not trying to compete with the local incredible restaurant. Mm-hmm. We just want their chefs to create the meal in the bookstore. And that's what we did. And so we had 28 people in the garden, and it's just snowballed from there. And the night before, I had such conviction that it was going to go. I didn't even know where or what it was going to be, but I just knew. I called a girlfriend who's a professional photographer, and I said, I need to hire you for for tomorrow, I think it was. And she said, but you haven't even done one. And I said, it doesn't matter. I know this is going to go. And I think that's part of it. When you're telling people your ideas, be careful, unless you have complete and utter confidence in yourself, they'll then back you if you do. If you have any doubt, they're going to give you all the reasons why it might not work. And so Gabby, the photographer, has been with me for every single event, and it worked out perfectly. If you're going to do something, do it right, as we were talking about before this podcast. And then the images from the first brunch, which felt so, kind of thrown together. Well, it was. But it didn't look it and it didn't feel it. That's been on the front cover of magazines, like this humble little brunch in my garden.
I can't get enough of this story. I can't. I think it is like there is so much in this. There is so much wisdom that I'm sure people are hearing from this of like just jump before you feel like you're ready.
Yeah.
Do whatever you can to be like to create an unreasonably amazing experience to the best of your ability. And I'm sure the experience has become even more unreasonable and fantastic since that first one. But it's not to discount that. It was like based on what you knew at the time and your experience and what you knew of hospitality and what these people were craving. You're like, okay, I'm going to put this together. How have you combated negativity coming into your world, getting a bit of feedback? I can only imagine there's something I feel like with people and food and like that makes people be like, oh, well, there wasn't enough, or I didn't have this, or I don't even know if you've ever had any negative feedback from people, but how have you not taken that in and let that stop you, and how have you used that to just further propel your business?
I think part of it, and what's quite interesting, even though I'm the one creating it, it feels quite interesting in what we're doing with the marketing. We don't talk about the food. And I want it to be all about the connection. I don't know if you've read Start With Why.
Yes,
you read it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
He talks about how, like, comb through your copy, comb through everything. Don't lead with what the product is, lead with the why. And so everything is about the connection, humans, solving disconnect, making you feel welcome, conversation, candlelight, and the table is the vehicle for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think already people are coming because they want the connection, and I can guarantee that's going to happen, and I can guarantee it's going to feel warm. And I hate the word networking, but some people do come to network, but it doesn't feel that way.
Yes.
But of course, when you've got such high standards, and as well, I think I'm incredibly open to feedback because I want to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to hear the harsh feedback in order to improve. Otherwise, you're just going to stay where you are. You have to sit with what your intention was, or how you think it felt. And I'm also learning that with an experience, it's so subjective. Like, it's not a product. You're not selling an iPhone and does it work or does it not? How you show up in the room, how that person's day has been, what they're dealing with, who they sit with, like, so many things affect each person's experience. So I care wholeheartedly. It pains me if I think anyone hasn't left with this cup full, heart on fire feeling. But also you do have to let it go a little bit. And if 99% of the room felt a certain way, a few weeks ago, I do curate a seating plan, and kind of just on intuition. But this one event, we had all the name cards placed, all the dietary requirements, like the chef's got the server's notes, all perfect, imperfectly perfect. I don't like to say perfect. And as these women are walking in the room, there was two ladies in their late 60s / early 70s that had come from Vernon, which I thought was insane. You could tell they'd never done anything like it. They'd seen something on Instagram and they travelled from Vernon. I was obsessed with them.
Are you kidding me?
I couldn't take it in. And they'd brought me journals and all these different things. It was amazing. But as they walked in, I just got the sense that the table's seating plan needed swapping. So I started behind me, swapping all of the name cards obviously, to the dismay of the servers, like so frustrating for me to do that, but it's very classic Emily to just change everything last minute because it felt a certain way. Anyway, serendipity again, 2 women sat next to each other that had never met, one of them from Vernon, one of them from Squamish, who had both just overcome breast cancer. And I want to say, like, how would they have ever met? But maybe they would have done, you know? Maybe they were always going to meet. But hearing their conversation at the dinner table, I just had goosebumps, and I'm engaged with somebody else, but I could hear the connection going on behind me. And I just had this moment of thinking, even if someone on the other side of the room doesn't like the wine or that, you know, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, because this conversation behind me that's unfolding, that's what this is about. And then you just lean into what matters, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, I want everything to be.
It's so incredible to hear you say it like that. And I was also thinking about kind of, obviously my business brain sometimes turns on, and how you were talking about starting with why. And from a business perspective, how important that is, because if you run a really classy, high value, high quality event, it's not $30. It should not be $30, and you could not deliver what you deliver for a $30 event. And if you said, I'm going to give you, here's what you're going to get: 1 glass of wine, you will have some sparkling water, you will have a bit of charcuterie, and you will have this piece of meat or whatever. Someone might look at the price tag and say, that's not, like, what's the value in that? That doesn't translate dollar to value. And it's almost like, I was also thinking about the person who's listening who works in corporate still. And this is like a beautiful conversation to just escape and listen to somebody who's, you know, going out and doing it. But also, like, value as a human being is what I was also thinking about, and how you deliver and how you show up as a parent. There's no dollar and cents value on you showing up as a parent, or you as a worker. The person isn't looking at your salary and being like, "Ooh, you're not worth that." Maybe they are. And there's the disconnect, because you're not showing up with this bigger, like, look what I can offer you. I don't know. I just feel like there's so many. It's so relevant. There's so many applications, not just for someone who wants to start a charcuterie business or an event business. It's like, how do you create more than just the dollar?
I think if you're leading with the why, there is almost no limit as well on what could be created. Mm-hmm. Because if someone's feeling disconnected, how much would you pay to not feel disconnected? Which then makes it a viable business, because there are so many costs associated with it. It's incredibly so, actually.
Yeah.
That's what I lean into. How much would I pay if I felt disconnected, if possible?
Yes. Why do you believe that, from your personal opinion, why do you think so many women undervalue what they do and what they're capable of, and create hobby businesses versus profitable? I love that I've known you for a couple weeks here, and I know that your dream is to make this a big, successful, profitable business. And I freaking love that you say that. Why do you think so many women don't lean into that?
I think it took me a while to say that out loud. And I do listen to Cody Sanchez a lot, who talks about the same thing. Like, it's such a small percentage of women that even own 7-figure businesses, for example, in the States.
Yeah.
Everything else is a lifestyle hobby thing that we're expected to do on the side. And it's not even fueled by me wanting to do it for myself. It's all of the small makers and the mums creating at home in nap time. And I've been around it through Dine Wilder and going to some beautiful markets, like really high-end markets where we've sold charcuterie boxes. Your eyes are open to this world. And my husband actually says, God, so much goes into those market vendors. Like, when you next go to a farmer's market, and if you ever, like, sniff at the price tag of some honey, or you've got no idea what goes into it. It's incredible. But I want to inspire the mum, whoever, maybe there is a way that we can make it profitable. So it's very out of my comfort zone to actually say it out loud. But I feel like because I'm doing it for other people, it makes it okay that I can admit that I want to do that. And
it goes back to the why.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's so, I love this conversation. And it's just, if we feel like it has to be an altruistic, service-based business, even if this is a very altruistic, very service-based, grounded in creating connection business. But what if you wanted to sell a widget and make an incredibly profitable, like, cell phone case, like Pila or whatever? And you're like, well, I don't want to say it out loud that I want to make a ton of money or be wildly successful. You can actually feel so much better in that if you understand why you want to make that money. And it doesn't have to be because you want to open up an orphanage. It can be because I want to create, like, something that I want to do is create beautiful experiences for my family. I want to have and host and create beautiful experiences, whether it's a vacation, whether it's taking our e-bikes down to the water. Like, that is, to me, a beautiful experience hosted by the fact that we have expensive bikes. And that's my why for bringing in money into our family. And so if you're disconnected from that, I feel like that's when things feel icky. And when, you're hosting a dinner and there's a price tag on it, if you don't believe in, like, the why behind, like, I'm delivering a beautiful experience for this person and I have this profitable business now that's supporting my family and our dreams, like, how is that not a beautiful win-win?
My why, this is so silly to say out loud, and I actually haven't even done any research to find out whether there is such thing as a sports day at school here. Is there?
Sports day, of course.
There
yes,
is.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Amazing.
Well, I'm from Ontario, so who knows here, but
Okay.
I think so, I'm sure.
If you can picture future you, rather than trying to create a business, work backwards. Like, find a moment in 5 years' time, and what do you want to spend that day doing? Work backwards. How do you get to there? Because if you take it step by step from today, it's really overwhelming. Same with the dinners. The 28 people I stopped and said, do you want to come to this brunch next week? Of course, their first question was, what is it? Because I think I called it Dine with Intent. And they were like, what is that? And I was like, I have no idea. But you're going to leave feeling like these words. Let me just figure out the logistics. Everybody wanted to feel like that, so they bought a ticket. I have had in mind this pretend sports day moment where the kids have been sick all week. So I've used all my vacation potentially on that week. And then it's sports day. And then I have this dread of knocking on my boss's door to say, oh my God, can I have the afternoon off because it's sports day? And I just try and get into the moment of feeling that anxiety of asking again for another piece of time off to be with the kids. And through the night, like, we have done the maddest things with Grace Wilder to make it happen. It was started when Jack Wilder, who everything is now named after, was 3 months old, with my best friend, who I went to daycare when I was 3 with in the UK. To make that happen with a 3-month-old has been bonkers, actually.
The charcuterie business.
More than anyone would ever know. Or maybe one day we share all the stories, but we would intentionally book kitchen time during the night. So, like, me and Rosie are rocking baby Jack on our backs. She's his godmother. And we would make platter after platter after platter together doing that. All the deliveries were scheduled around nap time. The kids would sleep in the back of the car. They would come to weddings with me. One wedding, there was no children allowed, and I had Wilf in his car seat under the grazing table asleep, and they didn't even know that the baby was there. But he had to come. I was breastfeeding, and there was no other option. And all the way through, what made it possible and actually made me jump out of bed to go and do it was this pretend sports day moment of, like, no way am I doing that. And it's been a slog at times on paper, but it's never felt like it, because it's every day felt like I was getting closer to that possibility. So I can't wait for it to be sports day.
And you're going to be like, oh, can I have the time off? You bet I can. I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
I was about to swear. My coach and dear friend, Kristen Constable, she uses this exercise called the 5 whys. And when someone's experiencing something that's really triggering or fearful, or say they're in that moment where they have to go and ask for the sports day afternoon off, and they're like, I don't want to feel like this anymore, but they can't understand what it is about that that's making them feel so awful. She says, ask yourself 5 whys. And I wonder, like, if you were to have done that experience in that moment, say this actually did happen, you're asking, okay, why do I feel such dread knocking on the door? And then you ask yourself why to every single response. And what I can imagine would have happened, I use this with my clients actually, it's so fun, is you be like, because I want to feel free. I want to feel freedom to be there for my kids. Would probably have been something around the effect of like what was at the root of it. And I love your, again, gumption. I don't know why. I feel like that's a word that they use in The Holiday.
I've not seen any movies.
No.
I don't know any famous people.
Oh my, okay, Jack Black. No, shoot, there's some characters in it. They use the word gumption to describe what's her face's. Oh shoot. Anyways, I'm also really bad with actors and actresses. But anyways, the word gumption is used, and I feel like I've used it 5 times. And you just did it. You're like, nope, I'm not gonna let my life pass me by for the next 3 years and be like every year having to ask for that friggin' sports day off and feeling awful about it. You're like, no, I'm gonna get ahead of this.
And I think I hate to admit it a little bit, but I am a total people pleaser at heart. So part of it would also be, I know I would be throwing myself into that role that doesn't exist and that version of me that doesn't exist. And I would feel terrible letting the person down. So I'd rather be able to plan for it and figure out that I'm going to work all of these hours when the kids are asleep or whatever to be present, for the kids, as you said.
Oh, I love that. Okay. I told you I wasn't going to look at my notes. I haven't. I had so many questions prepared for you. I want to ask you about hospitality, going back to the notion of hospitality. And I want to dig in a little bit more into creating connection, because you said so many people that you were meeting, which was the inspiration for Dine Wilder, is this feeling of disconnect. And I think we can all think about those experiences as being parents where we felt disconnected from our own friends. And we'd love to host an experience with all the other parents that we know and love who have their own kids, and we're all just buzzing through life. And then this has happened. I'm raising my hand. You're like, oh, but I never cleaned up that cupboard, or we didn't move all that stuff over here, or the house is always a mess. It feels like a lot of work. I have to cook. Now the list goes on. What can we do to just find easier, meaningful ways to connect with the people we love or people we don't know?
Well, in Squamish, it's extremely easy. Everybody hangs out at the river. So over the last few years, what has felt easier than hosting, to be honest, at times, is let's all just take a picnic to the river on a Friday night, and the kids run wild and we all just sit outside. But obviously the rain comes and then it's not so easy. I will say, if you're hosting other parents, all of those stories that you're making up are completely made up. Yeah. And nobody cares. And it actually does let people have the exhale, as you just did, when they walk in, if they see some mess. Yeah. I like everything to be put away just for my own sanity. My brain's so busy. I am a bit of a stickler with, before I go to bed, I have to have cleaned the kitchen counters. I have to have put the toys away. But it's not for pride of hosting, you know? It's just for myself. But when people come and there are toys out, or you have got pots on the side, without a doubt, if you say to them, oh, I'm so sorry about the mess, they'll all say to you every time, oh, you should see my house. And it humanises the host. And 90% of people walking through the door will just be so grateful that they didn't have to.
It's so true.
I'm just grateful that you're hosting.
So true.
And I think we can switch off in other people's spaces too.
Yes.
I don't care if I come to your house and there's kids' toys everywhere.
No.
They're not my toys. It's not my problem. I'm just there to see you. I think it's more us as the hosts that are thinking about it.
Yes.
But yeah, it just normalises that it's a messy life and it's amazing. And again, what's the why? It's the connection.
Yes.
I have found it much easier, to be honest, to hang out with other parents, more so for the timings. And I would say a little hack. It's not really a hack, but
love a good hack.
It's not really a hack. It was just like an epiphany, I think, one day of thinking, why am I trying to create this military bedtime routine to then sit there at the table and pray to God those kids don't wake up, because then we're going to have to go back upstairs, and me, selfishly, I don't want to go and miss the dinner table.
Totally.
Like, yeah, I don't want to go upstairs and rock the kids back to sleep. No. I want to be there in amongst it.
Yes.
What if we just did a brunch? So quite often on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, we'll have another family over. Every time, and even on an evening, your guests will ask, what can I bring? We're all trained to say, nothing, just bring yourselves.
Yes.
Give them something to bring, you know?
Oh.
Tell them, bring a fruit salad.
Yes.
You go to the local bakery, buy some fresh pastries. As soon as you've got that coffee machine going and the house smells lovely, the kids are probably in much better, higher spirits.
Yep.
It's like double win, because they get to burn off energy while you're socialising and you're not in a fancy restaurant on edge, not wanting to get the screen out, but also not thinking, are we about to get evicted? It's the dream. Open your house on a weekend morning to another family, give them a job, everyone's happy.
Give them a job.
And if your kids are little enough, then you go home and you get a double whammy because the kids go down for a nap.
Have some ham. My kids like smoked salmon. I think a lot of kids like smoked salmon. Weirdly.
Do they? That's so interesting, because I put some in my kids' lunchbox yesterday and it came back.
No. Oh, that is so weird. The synchronicities.
Must be Canadian kids.
God, West Coast. Apparently I have these West Coast kids who like smoked salmon. Tell them, say, a little sweet treat would be lovely, thanks.
Yeah, anything. Bring a snack for the kids. Bring some crayons for the kids. In fact, don't do the crayons, because I've done that. And you actually want to be able to leave the kids to their own devices. So you're better off putting a little activity out on the floor, or a jigsaw, some Lego, something they're not going to murder each other with, which they probably won't if it's friends and not siblings. And then you can leave them and you can all catch up.
This is a hack. You said it's not a hack. This is a hack. Brunch. Host a brunch.
So easy.
Talk about the rain. Talk about anywhere in Canada from November to February. And it's these Saturday, Sunday routines where you're going to these playtimes, which are great. And there's a time and a place for them. But sometimes you just don't want the snotty kid to be sneezing on your kid and licking their face. And like, you're standing there and you don't really feel like I'm an extrovert. I will chat with the mom next to me. But like, sometimes I want to see my people. But maybe I don't want to do the whole dinner rigmarole. I love this.
It's so nice.
What a nice way to spend a morning.
And if you really want to, you can have the dishwasher and the washing machine going and all the things at the same time. Or you can just soak it up and just be there.
Yes.
It's fab.
Tell us about Dine Wilder. Tell us about, what is your big event coming?
Feast.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Tell us about Feast for those who are local or would like to travel, like those who came from Vernon. Tell us, what is this experience? What is the why behind this event?
Feast is selfishly the day that I've always wanted to go to that I couldn't find, that didn't seem to exist. And I am so passionate that everybody knows that Dine Wilder is for every woman. It's not for women in business. It's not for mums. It's for all of the above and everyone in between. Because when I was on maternity leave, I felt very, very connected. I would go to so many mum and baby things. Not only did it make me feel like a bad mum in a way, because I didn't want to go and talk about the kids. And I realised that's quite common. Like, there's a lot of women that feel that way. But I would sit there thinking, oh my gosh, are we talking about the sleep schedule again? I don't get any.
I thought I was alone in that. I talked to a lot of parents, but I really did think I was alone in that.
No, I had no interest. I was just selfishly going to go and have a coffee with someone else and use my brain.
Yes.
And you don't really want to say that out loud until I think maybe you've had an extra child, and then you don't mind saying it.
Yeah, I don't care about the feces.
But yeah.
I mean, unless they're really sick. Was it green? Okay, yeah, maybe you should go. Other than that, don't care.
obviously we love them. We're here with them. We're with them every moment of the day. Let's talk about something else.
Yes.
And I just would always leave feeling very connected, but that my mind felt hungry. Or I would go to a dinner with my girlfriends and I would just leave thinking, I wish we'd had conversation prompts, or I wish none of us had any energy to read any books, but I wish we'd have had a book club where we didn't have to read the book, but the conversation followed some kind of flow.
Yes.
So I think feast has probably always been the seed planted in my mind before even Dine Wilder came about, this food for your mind thing. And every portion of my life, it's like I come out of body and see it all as a vehicle for something different. Grays felt like that. Property management felt like that, actually, managing retail spaces. Grays, now we're into Dine. And as people have said to me, what are you going to do if people get sick of the dinners? Well, I have so many answers for that, but I would think, oh, you don't know. You don't know. This is the vehicle, but I didn't know what to. And feast feels like that's what it's been leading to. So it's a whole day of connection. And I will say I've struggled with the copy to market it because I don't want to use the word conference.
Yeah, it's not.
And I don't want to use the word retreat because it also doesn't feel like it's a retreat full of like physical wellness and movement, because there's so much of that done so amazingly in this part of the world. But I'm learning to accept that it does have the structure of a conference with the feeling of a retreat and the food for your mind. And whilst we have 4 incredible speakers, all arming you with tools that you can actually put into action when you leave to feel confident, capable, just so sure that you can achieve whatever that itch is, that you can scratch it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. You're just in the same position that you were in beforehand anyway. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? They all have the same golden thread woven through, but also the magic of Dine Wilder and being at a dinner table is woven through. So they speak for 20 minutes, but the other 20 minutes of their session time is for immersion. So it could be conversation prompts, it could be meditation or journaling, or it's for the connection that happens at Dine to be lit in the second half. And then all of that will culminate in a panel led by my coach, Krista Hull, who is incredible at building community and connection. So she's going to weave all of it together. We'll have, of course, the name of it, Feast and Dine Wilder, a very abundant lunch. There'll be breakfast canapes in the morning. I'm kind of going all over the place here, but
I love it.
That's the way my brain works.
I love it.
The end closing moment, again, don't know what to call it because it's not the networking hour and it is cocktails, but we also have non-alcoholic mocktails. There's going to be live music, grazing table, time for connection. And Krista did point out with me this week, don't get so caught up in not knowing how to word it, because that's what happens when you're creating something new. There aren't the words for it. So every time someone asks me what it is, I'm thinking, well, it's just feast. It's just its own being. But once everyone's been, they'll understand. I think they're going to leave feeling changed. And they are not going to have had a moment through the day of thinking, these tables weren't set for me. Although these speakers do work with huge brands, I've almost removed some of that because I don't want the mum on mat leave thinking, I'm not a woman in business. I can't be at that dinner table yet. Let me get back to work. Let me wait for the right moment. It's for every woman at any point, at any age. And I think that's the beauty of Dine. You have the 17-year-old girl, Frida, that I mentor at the secondary school in Squamish, sat next to a 70-year-old grandma. Never do we make time for that in society, for them to share a dinner table unless you're part of the same family.
Yep.
But the wisdom that's shared, if you don't have your phone out and you're totally engaged, is so valuable.
It's so beautiful. And another synchronicity, you were hosting it where I got married.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know
Did
that.
I tell you that?
No.
Yeah, Cheakamus Center in Squamish.
Oh, cool. It's beautiful. It's the Sea to Sky's best kept secret. Nobody knows it exists, and it's just stunning, isn't it?
It's like, obviously I'm biased. I got married there, but it is the most special place. It looks like the Twilight House.
Yeah.
It's this gorgeous house that's LEED certified, and it's in the forest on a river. It is the most beautiful. There's something about the energy of that.
It's so
land
magical.
in that space. It is so magical. And I just love the way you describe it, how you're describing the feeling of it. You're not all over the place, first of all. I was with you. It was like watching a beautiful movie, and I'm so excited for you.
I'm so excited.
Be beautiful.
Thank you.
It's gonna be beautiful. Before I let you go, can we do a rapid fire?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pulling out my phone because I wrote down some questions.
Oh gosh.
Rapid fire hosting hacks with Emily Shimwell. Asking for a friend. Okay, so we're taking this back to hosting because clearly it's on the mind. And you are the person to ask. Okay, number 1. What's your go-to crowd-pleasing appetizer?
I have to say charcuterie. How could I not?
You do have to. Okay, what on the shark? Is it like, let's make like a French toast, like a brunch charcuterie? Is it like classic salami and cheese? Like what are some?
I think if you're a busy mom, too complicated even, the French toast situation. I think we just do crackers, delicious meat, a delicious cheese, and what everyone misses is the preserve. You need the whole mouthful. If I see someone at a grazing table and they haven't got the preserve, Rosie or I will run over and insist. It just changes.
How many? Do you have to have 3 cheeses, 3 meats? Like, could it be 1 cheese, 1 meat? How many cheeses?
I think I don't like all the rules that go with it. That's the whole point of it. And I think the more perfect that you try and make a grazing board look, the more stressful it seems. I like the food spilling and pouring off the grazing platter. And even when you've got the wood on the table with this beautiful platter, plant the grapes next to it and spread the crackers out off the sides of the boards. And I think it makes it look more abundant and it makes people feel more at home.
Wild.
And it also spreads out the quantity to make it look even bigger if you've just thrown it together.
Wild.
And some olives.
Oh,
or a pickle.
Love an olive. Oh, love a pickle, little gherkin. Okay. I'm never going to get through this list. Okay. 1 small detail that makes every table feel instantly elevated.
I think a beautiful linen napkin tied in a knot rather than folded. Even if you've got mismatch, everything else, invest in some gorgeous quality linen napkins in a neutral tone. Everything looks elevated.
Do you have to iron them?
No, God, no.
Oh, great.
Tie them in a big knot like we did on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Okay, done.
Who's got time to iron the napkins?
I'm not. Well, mother-in-law is the freaking best. She irons her pillowcases. Sue, you're setting the bar too high. Biggest mistake people make when hosting at home.
Being attached to the perfection. Nobody cares as much as we think they do. Same in business. Nobody cares as much about us as we think they do.
No
so
one's
just
thinking
go
about you.
for it.
Okay, fine. If you could splurge on only one thing for a dinner party, what would it be? Apart from the linen napkin. You can't.
Maybe
you
the
can't
wine.
Ooh, what's your favorite?
Well, at the moment, we're partnered with Terra Vista Vineyards in Naramata. So all summer long, we've been drinking Terra Vista.
Love it. We'll
Delish.
put that in the show notes. I know that a lot of Naramata wines will deliver. My mom has wines go to Ontario from the Okanagan.
Cool.
What's your signature drink, mocktail or cocktail to serve?
I really change it up, but I think I lean into the Britishness and I quite like a gin and tonic with a little sprig of rosemary.
I didn't know that was British.
Oh, yeah,
I thought you were going to say Pimm's.
Gin in England.
Who doesn't? Oh, God, that sounds good. There's some really good non-alcoholic gins, too.
So good.
Yeah. Had some when I was pregnant. What is your trick for making hosting feel fun instead of stressful?
I think it's stressful when you're trying to make the house look as perfect as you can when the kids are at your feet. So give them a job. task them with something because they will feel helpful and valued. It gets them out from under your feet and it ticks the job off. You just have to give them triple the length of time.
Yes. Yes.
And blunt scissors, I learnt last week, as they're clipping flowers in the garden for the vases.
Okay, excellent. One song or playlist you always put on to set the vibe?
I am terrible at knowing any singers other than a few.
Ed Sheeran, because you're British.
I probably go towards Sam Fender, who's from where we're from at home in the north, but I'm a bit of a cheat and I just go on Spotify and either put family brunch, long table dinner, jazz cafe, something like that. And that's what I do at the dinners as well.
Love
Quick,
that.
easy, looks intentional.
See, that's a lot easier. Like you're saying, tie the napkin in a knot. Not just because it looks great, but you don't have to iron.
Yeah.
I like these little, you're good. You're good. Okay. What's your number one tip for hosting with kids? Oh, well, we already covered that. Yeah. We covered that. Best lighting tricks. Okay. This is the final one. The list is 9 for some reason. I'm not sure why. I am so sensitive to light, to like really crappy overhead light or like places where the light should be more dim. Like I'm obsessed with light. How do you kind of set the mood for light?
Always candles. And a candle in the washroom is so nice. I think it looks really intentional if you put a candle in the washroom. And while I'm saying don't perfect the house, something I learned or read somewhere definitely stuck with me. And that the moment that someone enters your home, you're setting the tone.
Yep.
So I do like to make sure that the entryway is quite immaculate. Even if the rest of the house isn't, it like sets the tone, you know?
It's so true.
And
true.
main lights off and little coffee table lights on and some candles. And I always let the kids light the candles, which they quite like.
Ooh, controversial. I love it. Okay, again, I feel like this is going to be a million years long, but I would also be remiss if we didn't just talk quickly about this notion of perfectionism and like the Martha Stewart era. What are your thoughts on just how we're all trying to be Martha Stewarts in this modern day world with the children at our ankles, with big jobs and big aspirations and big dreams? Like I don't know. What are your thoughts? How do we do it?
I think I don't resonate with it so much because I am not like that, which seems so strange for people who don't know me to be looking at Dine Wilder. Probably think, God, I bet she does the most extravagant tablescapes at home, or I don't. Again, it's all back to the why, and it's getting the people around the table on the couch feeling comfy. I want people to think it's okay if they spill their red wine on the linen napkin, you know?
Yes.
I think it was amazing and very inspirational for my mum's era. My mum actually is Wonder Woman, and so she did have a killer job. Our door was open, and actually the amount of people that she must have hosted per week, strangers. There was one Christmas dinner, we were sat around the table. I'm not joking. There was the postman, the window cleaner, and the milkman sat with me, my gran, my mum, and my stepdad. And it stuck with me. And I remember sitting there in the kitchen, why is the postman in there? And she said, because I bumped into him this morning and he said he had no plans. And that must have like soaked into my body. And I just think that's normal, you know?
How could it not?
So she's the exception. We would host like 30 people on a Saturday night. She has a canal boat and she would cook Sunday dinner for, literally like 35 people one day she did. A canal boat's 57 foot with, I don't even know how wide it is, 6 foot wide maybe.
Canal boat? What are you saying?
A narrow boat, a canal boat. A boat on the canal.
On the canal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had a boat.
We have a boat, and so I was brought up on it. Like every Friday to Monday morning, we would live on the canal boat and just sail around the UK and then sometimes get the train home to go back to school.
Are you? I had thought you were talking about a boat, like that you'd put like a board, like a sushi boat, but like
an
hosting.
actual boat on
so
water.
You were on a boat on water and hosting dinner there?
Well, I remember she would just pass the plates of Sunday dinner outside and everyone had to sit on the side of the canal, on the towpath it's called, because there was no room inside the boat. It was so full. So all that to say, she's the exception. I don't know how she did all of the things. But in general, I think the women of the Martha Era Stewart maybe weren't working as much. And I think the world was a bit different and it did all look perfect. And I think we're coming out of it and we're a bit sick of it and we want to see the mess and we want the businesses humanised. And there's been this huge shift where we want to follow the CEO. Like, can you imagine 40 years ago getting to know the CEO of whomever?
Your favorite brand, yeah.
When you click on the brand now, I want to click on the founder and see the mess behind the founder. That's what I'm buying into.
The About section is the most visited page on a website because people want to know who you are. Was your mom obsessed with perfection, though?
No, never.
Was it all about, like, was she measuring? No, she was letting people sit on the side of the canal.
Yeah.
So when you say, like, I don't know how she did it, I mean, it sounds like she took on a hell of a job, but it's like this whole conversation is just making me feel like, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. You don't even know how many people you've invited. I think it's roughly 30. Oh, 35 show up. Great. Here's a plate.
It's so interesting because we had a stable door. Our home is, I think, like 1704. It's really old and it has a stable door and it's on a really famous walkway in North Yorkshire. So I just remember that top part of the door would always be open and we have an Aga which heated the house. And so she would not be able to rest, go to sleep, anything without something cooking in that Aga at all times. And she would just pass food and cups of tea out to strangers walking past all day long. Like, it was just so normal to me. And now I look back thinking that's not that common. And I was worried that moving to another country would mean I couldn't create that. And whenever Dean would say, I'm not going home, I would think, well, I have to, because I have to recreate that. And somehow in Squamish, we've got this home at the end of a cul-de-sac and it is really old for Canada. It's 1952 or something. We call it the Little Blue House. Everybody knows that door's open and the kettle's on. We have the annoying whistling kettle that used to drive me crazy is always now on, and I'm like recreating all the things that my mum did. Same thing with no care for the perfection. No one cares.
You have to be like, it's so funny to say that about the door being open and the kettle being on, because I have this dream. There's something that's holding me back. It's this like fear of showing imperfection in my home where I want people to stop by unannounced. Like, I have a dream of people stopping by and me saying, come in for a cup of coffee.
Everybody stops at our house unannounced. Actually, last year I was told, in jest, of course, but partly serious, that I'd reached my quota on friends. Dean was like, I don't even know who's walking in this door by this point. I don't even know what they're called. I don't know what their name is or who they are or what they're doing. And so when I thought about Dine, I thought, but if I could get paid to make friends, maybe it's allowed.
And with that, Emily Shimwell, everybody. Emily, what is something you're still trying to figure out?
Everything. Everything.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
This has been so much fun. Let's do it again.
I can't wait to do brunch on a Sunday with toys everywhere.
Oh, me too.